Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Storytime Live. I'm your host, Joey Medea from Every Day is a Story All Its Own and from Into the Outer Realms. But on Saturday mornings, it's all about children's books. After the first of the year, we have a couple of great children's books with cryptids in them, so it'll be a nice crossover with Into the Outer Realms. I have my good buddy here, Traveler. He's sort of a steampunk Victorian, ready for a Christmas Carol and all of that kind of good stuff. He's with us today. He nods off easily. So I'm going to put him aside to do the story, but just wanted you to see that he was with us and all dressed up for the holiday season this morning. So the book this morning is The Wild Christmas Reindeer by Jan Brett. It's a Scandinavian story, beautifully illustrated, as you'll see. So let's jump right in. The Wild Christmas Reindeer, written and illustrated by Jan Brett. And this was donated to us by our friends Craig and Rebecca Ansel. Craig is the host, one of the hosts of Three Beards podcast, which you can catch on Wednesday nights around 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on their Facebook page, on YouTube, and other places too. So check them out. The number 3 Beards podcast. It's wonderful. Tikka was excited and a little afraid. This year, Santa had asked her to get the reindeer ready to fly on Christmas Eve. Tikka had never done this before, and she wanted everything to be perfect. Tikka lived up in the Arctic in the shadow of Santa's winter farm. The last of the snow geese had flown south, and everyone's mind was on Christmas. The workshop was alive with the sounds of saws sawing, hammers hammering, and brushes painting as they all worked to have the toys and presents ready for delivery on Christmas Eve. And just absolutely gorgeous illustrations. If you can find this book, they're worth spending some time with. Tikka knew it was time for her to go in search of the reindeer. They had been out on the Tundra wild and free since last Christmas, and Tikka was sure they wouldn't want to go back to Winter Farm to train. She would have to be strong and firm. At last she found them: Bramble and Heather, Windswept and Lichen, Snowball, Crag, Twilight, and Tundra. Great names for reindeer. And they're all different. There was a Petrushka nesting doll and all the different kinds of wonderful things there. Tikka took a breath and shouted out, "Let's go! Move, move, move!" The reindeer were bewildered by Tikka's voice. Their heads went up to see who this loud creature was. But they let her herd them together and headed back toward the winter farm. Tundra gave her the most trouble. Tikka didn't know that he considered himself the leader and was not used to being bossed around. He liked to stay next to Twilight, but she was separated from him and running near the front. When they got to the barn, Tikka put them all in different stalls. Tundra snorted impatiently. We can already tell here. They sent Tikka to do the job, but they didn't give her any instructions. Probably sounds familiar to a lot of people out there. By the next morning, when Tikka went into the barn, all the reindeer were restless and upset. Lichen was afraid of Crag, who kept nipping at him. Bramble was so worried she drove Heather wild, and Twilight kept calling out for Tundra, who was just plain angry and stomping his hooves. Tikka groomed each reindeer. She wanted them to look sleek and glossy for Santa. One by one, she brushed and combed their coats and pushed and pulled at their tangled manes. She brushed so hard and so long that their ears started to turn pink. Not good. Where is the instruction manual for how to do all this? She's learning it the hard way. Tikka took the reindeer outside. Now she was ready for the real training to begin. Snowflakes danced in the air as she tried to stand them in 2 lines and put on their harnesses, but they wouldn't stay up. She had put Tundra at the back with Heather instead of at the front with Twilight, so he kicked out Heather, who then bolted into Bramble. Tikka scolded the reindeer. "Don't move," she cried, but they all ran off wild-eyed, and she had to go after them and bring them back. Quick story, not even a story really, but when I was in college, I had some close friends who were competitive equestrians. and sometimes I would travel with them. So one day someone got the bright idea, well, Joey's just here kind of standing around, so why don't we have him look after like these 3 horses? And they told me, don't let him eat the grass. Well, all the horses wanted to do was eat the grass. So here's me. I weighed all of 135 pounds at the time with 3 giant show horses, trying to convince them not to eat the grass. So I am right there with Tikka on this. The next day, Tikka harnessed the reindeer in the barn before taking them out into the snow. Everyone went right until she got them lined up. Oh, well, we already read that. They're all locking horns and bad things are happening. Stop, Tikka tried as she watched the reindeer paw the air. Unhook, she shouted as they tried to free their long antlers. Then Lichen and Crag fell over into the snow. The harder they pulled, the more their antlers locked. The reindeers were frantic, and Tikka only made it worse by yelling at them. What a mess. Tundra and Heather rushed to help, but the antlers did not break free. Windswept nudged at Lichen, and Bramble ran to help Crag. But the more they tried to help, the more they got tangled up themselves. Their necks strained and their muscles bulged, but their antlers did not budge. Tikka wailed, oh, please, it's almost Christmas Eve. But the reindeer couldn't move. A frosty silence hung in the air. Again, what a mess. Oh, boy, boy, boy. And Christmas Eve on the way. Tikka looked at the tangled reindeer, once so bold and free, and began to cry. It's my fault, she said. I've spent all my time yelling at you instead of helping. I'm sorry. And one by one, she gave each reindeer a hug. Tomorrow, she said, we'll go to work in a new way. No yelling, no screaming, no bossing. I promise. Let me try to help you get free. Oh, illustration. There she is, showing some loving kindness, a little different kind of management style, as it were. The reindeer listened to this new voice. Heather's eyes sparkled. Crag cracked a reindeer grin. Bramble giggled and Snowball sighed. Tundra laughed and Twilight smiled. The more they laughed, the more they shook, and the more they shook, the more their antlers rattled and rubbed. And before Tikka could do anything, she heard a spring, spring, sprung sound. It was the antlers jiggling free. Spring, spring, sprung. Spring, spring, sprung. Interesting. Interesting. Spring, spring, sprung. Love that. Quietly, Tikka led the reindeer back to the barn. She sleeked their coats. She gently brushed their ears and combed out their manes. Tundra muzzled her cheek and probably actually nuzzled it. Yep, nuzzled, not muzzled. They would have done that if she didn't change her management style, right? The next day, the reindeer lined up in 2 lines ready for the harness, with Twilight and Tundra leading the line. They practiced turning left, and they practiced turning right. Tikka directed them softly. Tundra pulled for Twilight. Bramble was gentle to Lichen. Windswept helped Heather, and Snowball nestled against Crag. Together, they practiced long and hard. They didn't notice it was getting dark, and they almost didn't hear a jingle in the distance. It was Santa standing by the sleigh, piled high with presents and ready to go. And there he is, the classic Santa Claus. Bon Natal. Popo Gijou. Those of you who know the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, one of my favorite movies. Now the reindeer were ready too, and Tikka led them to the sleigh. Santa smiled and nodded his thanks. Then he climbed aboard and waved to Tikka, who watched as the wild reindeer rose up together and carried the sleigh off into the night. There Santa's getting himself together, getting all comfy, and there they are going for Christmas Eve. A wonderful show. Tikka learned a positive lesson, and she was so exhausted, she promptly went to sleep as they were flying away. She went right into bed. So there you go. So let's bring Traveler up here again. Now, Tanya will be back next week. You won't be seeing that much of her anymore. She's got a real lot going on. But she'll be back next week, and we're going to be reading this book. I'm so excited here. Hop into America, A Rabbit's Tale of La Befana by the award-winning Diana Pishner Walker. We've read 2 or 3 other of her books. They're always audience favorites. We are going to do this on Christmas morning. But of course, just like this video, Traveler and I will be posting this to Twitter and to Facebook and to LinkedIn. So there's lots of different ways that you can watch. I know lots of people watch it after the fact. So have a wonderful, we're 1 week out from Christmas. We're into Hanukkah, all the good stuff that's going on through the whole holiday season, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate, however you celebrate. If you don't celebrate at all, but it's just a time to be happy. I hope everyone's being safe and staying warm. And we'll see you next week. Hold on, we have some comments here. Good morning, Angelina. Nice to see you. Eleonora is on strike. She doesn't want to work this early in the morning, so you'll see her next Wednesday night on Into the Outer Realms. We'll see you all. Yes, I do look like Santa. Okay, take care. Bye-bye, everyone.